And now to throw some perspective onto that story is Honorable Leandro Komakech, who is a visiting fellow at the London School of Economics and Political Science and also a political analyst. Honorable, is it by coincidence that most opposition politicians in East Africa have found themselves behind bars, treated in a way that their property frozen for the case of the former president of DRC, Joseph Kabila?
Well, Canary, East Africa should be at this time manifesting an investment in political capital, especially at a period where the world is geostrategically aligning itself. Europe is surrendering to itself, America is on its own, and therefore I find it very surprising to see that the political actors in this region are still relating the way they're relating. And when you look at opposition, it is even worse, because when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was put in place in the 40s, the late 40s, I think it meant for all as human beings, and therefore freedom of association was already a done deal. So in East Africa, I even remember that the core three countries even had agreed to have independence on the same day and then move on to create an East African community in the early 60s. But all this went to the drain. We are back on the drawing board.
Right.
Now,
so is it that the opposition politicians are playing bad politics, or it's just that the ones in power are not tolerant at all?
I think it is very important that the governments of the day should protect the rules of the game, because at present, the political rules are not being played fairly. If you look at electoral reforms, it is dead on arrival. And so what do? You cannot say we play good politics when the rules are not fair. Even for those who watch Premier Leagues and La Ligas and the rest, I think because the rules are very clear-cut and everybody is motivated. But for our case, I think I would invite many Ugandans to read the book called Why Nations Fail. This book is very important for us in Africa, especially in East Africa, to look at two critical things: political and economic institutions. Are we building them, or we are extracting them? When you see most of the politics we play in this region is extractive politics. It is not inclusive politics. It is all about political centralization, as opposed to opening up a pluralistic behavior where institutions are respected. Democracy comes into the fulcrum of driving the agenda of society. Now all these are lacking. So for me, the greatest challenge is, until when we begin to realize that our politics and our economics are actually the most important investment for our human capital, right, then we are actually wasting our time.
Right. So political scholars are suggesting that there is need for opposition figures and politicians to rethink their strategy and their approach to their politics. In your own understanding and experience, what would this rethinking entail?
I think rethinking means common sense. Let's get back to the basics. Why should we compete? Because human beings by nature, however, even in a family, you will never get everybody consenting. At least one or two children will always oppose something. So it is by nature that you disagree, but in a competitive sense that allows the growth of a family, of a society. So in Uganda, we should agree that the 1995 Constitution gave us at least a framework that allowed us to begin a political journey that would actually be resolving conflict and everything else. But it looks like all Ugandans have deflated all these issues, they are forgotten. And when you go to parliament to say, these are issues we need to reflect on, everybody's saying the next election. But when the rules are not fair. Right. So for me, these are the challenges that actually deter us from moving ahead. The world is now the greatest challenge we have today. America is now moving in total on its own, back to the 1940s, where it thinks about itself. Europe is being constricted because of the challenges that are coming. The foreign aid that used to be very important for us in Africa, all these budgets are being reallocated into the defense industry in Europe. Now, where is our situation? We are only extracting and selling to those guys. Are we going to converge to ensure that we invest in all our resources that God gave us in East Africa that actually can be the key determinant of world progress, as opposed to all these issues of chasing opposition up and down? We need tolerance. And this tolerance should be tolerance of ideas, and therefore the framework should be that let the rules be agreed by both. Whether in opposition or in government, it is important to move as one unit.